Welcome to W2W International Ministry, which stands for Woman to Woman International Ministry. Welcome. My name is Pastor Wendy, and I wanted to share some of what God has done for me. So these few days, I'm going to be doing a series that it's sharing MS, my story with MS, with multiple sclerosis. And yesterday I gave an intro as to what was MS, and because a lot of people would ask me on Facebook, you will be able to see that. Today I had started to do Facebook Live, but I was having so many interruptions, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this method for this. So the good thing is you'll be able to put fast forward if you already heard a part, or rewind if wherever you stayed you can see that. So and today the part the title of today is "It Hit Me Like a Ton of Bricks." I had been struggling um, with symptoms of MS since 1993. That was the first symptom that I had. Was I felt like I had a speck in my eye, and I was having problems seeing. And I was later confirmed that I had had some optic neuritis, and I was given some steroids for that. Um, and it took 4 years for them to diagnose. I had started having different kind of symptoms. I had my legs. I had weakness in my whole left side at one point, and was having hard times walking. That was in 1996. I had my eyes crossed, all kinds of I had like 3 episodes of optic neuritis, and 2 of them were that I was basically blind because I cannot see any faces or anything. I could see the shadow, but I couldn't see faces or anything. And I remember that in 1997, that's when I was diagnosed. It goes to tell you how medicine has changed so much. It has come so far, because now you're saying, "Oh my goodness, there's so many people with MS," and it's not that. Is that it took a while, and what took so long, 4 years back then, now is like they are through technology and all kinds of things, they've been able to improve of how to find this. And in 1997, I was officially diagnosed with MS, and I was pregnant, so I was not able to get any treatment for it because it would harm my baby. And I remember it was really hard, because even I had one doctor telling me at this 32nd week that I had to have bed rest. And I had my neurologist saying, "No, you can't stay still because that is the worst thing for an MS patient." So I was given some physical therapy at home, and I had a lady literally moving my legs and while I'm in bed, moving my legs, moving my arms, trying to put my body, into use. Um, and in 2003 I was able to marry my husband Paul, and he took me to his spiritual father's church to meet him. And I remember this man, I had not fully told Paul everything that MS. Yes, he knew that I had MS and everything, but he didn't know everything that MS entitled, all the different things. And of course, you can tell somebody things, but going through it is a different situation. So I got to that service, and I remember his name is Pastor Angel Ayala, and he prayed for me. And I remember that when he prayed for me, oh, the Spirit of God was so strong. And I have no doubt, no shadow of a doubt, that that day God did his work in my life, in my body. I had gone in there, I had my my IV because I was doing treatment. I had to go in the hospital and get treatment every day for, I think it was 4 or 5 days. I had to do that. And that day when I felt the presence of God so strong, I had gone in there with my arm. It was just like so weak, and it was it felt really heavy, and my legs as well. My left side was a whole hot mess, and I remember that when I got up, I was able to feel feel so much better. I said, you know what, by in the name of Jesus, I know that I have been healed. In 2015, I was battling at work, and I had just moved to Tucson, and I was doing property management, and I was going through a really rough time at work. I remember that, you know, I it was really a time of test in my life, right? But I remember in September, early September, and my Pastor Francisco Gonzalez of Templo La Unción, he told me, hija, he said, daughter, you need to, bring that stress level. You need to take things easy. Don't, you're overstressing yourself. You're gonna get sick. And he said, you need to start asking God, to help you. And, he's got everything under control. So you don't have to be stressing so much. God's got this. And I remember I would say, yes, I'm really, agree and everything. But it was that September 17, I remember that it got really bad at work. I mean, I had a really big confrontation with my supervisor, and it was something that I was just ready to just leave it all. But I knew that in property management, when you are a property manager, you lose your job, you lose your home, you lose everything. So you need to make sure you have something before you let go of that job. But I went home. I was so angry. I was vivid with this person. I was just like, what is wrong with this person? And I remember that I was in my kitchen, right? As I was trying to tell Paul about what had gone. I was getting ready to start telling Paul of everything that had gone wrong, when I'm in my kitchen and I feel that I cannot walk. I cannot take my next step, and I am like, at this point, I am just like, what is going on? And I'm like, I felt heaviness in my leg, and I immediately called on Paul. I said, Paul, come here. He comes. He goes, what's going on? And I said, I can't move my leg. It's so heavy. I don't know what's going on. You need to take me to the hospital. In my mind, I know the feeling that I have felt this before, and that was when I was with a relapse of MS. And I'm like, you need to take me to the hospital right now, because we need to get this, on time. What's going on? Right there, when I went to the hospital, and the doctor came after, my test results came back and everything. He comes in and he's sitting down, and he says, I see in your records that you have history of MS. I just want you to know all your test results came back that you are having an MS exacerbation. You're having a flare. For those who don't know what that is, it's an MS attack. So at this point in time, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Everything like shattered right in seconds. I saw my daughter running out of the room, and I told my husband, just bring her back. No, we're gonna do this as a family. I don't want anybody crying behind me. And no, I want to be part of everything. This is something that's happening to me, but it's also happening to us. So we've done everything together. We will go through this. My daughter is coming back, and she's saying, I've been through this, Dad. I've been through this. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And you know, my husband was new to this because remember I was in 2003 was my last relapse of MS. So and you know all of these things are going through my mind, which now that I was preparing for this, I could see, you know, where in Jeremiah is saying, oh Lord, if you heal me and heal me, you know, I will be truly healed. When God heals you, He doesn't take your healing back. But we can do things. We can do things that will cause consequences. And this was a consequence that I was going through. My pastor had told me, you're going to get sick if you do not bring your stress level. If you don't start trusting God and letting Him battle for you, this is what's going to happen. And this was a consequence of what was happening. And so this was the beginning of a really long journey of a journey that was painful. I was saying in the day of yesterday, you know, that multiple sclerosis means many scars. It does many scars to your, not only to your brain, but to your spinal cord, you know, and the lesions are scars, right? And they could be active or inactive, and they were active when they told me I had 5 lesions in my brain and I had 12 lesions in my spinal cord. They started giving me steroids by IV, and I started showing improvement. But here it is, October 15. I went into the hospital again. This time, my whole lower extremities were weak. I could barely walk. I actually couldn't walk. I was transported to the hospital by ambulance, and I was at this point they ran the MRI again. In my brain I didn't have new lesions, but I had in my spinal cord I had 5 more lesions. So I had 5 in the brain and I had 17 at this point, 17 lesions in my spinal cord, causing all of these symptoms that I was going through. My body was my whole lower extremities were feeling numb, but at the same time I was going through excruciating pain, burning kind of pain, sleep apnea. I could not sleep. I had hypertension. My blood pressure at once went 240. They were saying that how I was blessed that I did not have a heart attack in all of this. My anxiety levels were off the chart. The pain that I had, not only in the lower extremities, but all my body just felt sore, like if I had just gone through a really bad car accident, and all that soreness all over my body. My body, when I would touch my arms and everything, they felt cold, and I wasn't cold, but my skin felt cold to me. When I touched my body, I started feeling like radiation all over my body. It was really crazy. Like if I had constant radiation all over, if I touched my skin, it would feel like it felt very sensitive to touch, even in my face or in my arms or my legs. It just felt, or if somebody would touch me, or when they went to put my IVs and everything, it felt really bad. My speech was very slurred. You barely could understand anything I would say. I would be talking and I would forget what I was saying. So I would start talking to you and I would miss pieces here and there, making it really hard for people to understand me. On October 17, I remember this doctor came into the room, and he was substituting for my neurologist, and he comes in and he does my exam, and after that he says Hebrews 11:1. And he looks at me and does like this. He goes, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we cannot see. And he said, young lady, I hope that you start feeling better soon. don't lose faith. He just walked out. He didn't say anything else other than that. And I started feeling better, and they were starting to see that I was doing good. October 23, they're getting ready to discharge me. They say, we want you to sit up for a little longer. And as I'm sitting there, I was eating my breakfast, and I still remember I was eating a strawberry when I put that strawberry in my mouth. And I looked at my husband because I felt like something was not right. It just felt like a lot of discomfort, but a lot of stuff that I cannot explain. So I said, can you please go get the nurse? Please hurry, because something is not right. Something is not right. He leaves. I remember seeing him leave the room. He didn't even press the button for the nurse. He just went physically to get her. And when they come back, at this point, I could just hear. I couldn't see anything. And I just heard the nurse said, she has no pulse. She has no pulse. Was she breathing when you left? And he said, yes, she was breathing. She's not breathing now. What's going on? What's going on? She goes like, she is not breathing. And she calls code blue. And I could hear a lot of commotion. I could hear a lot of things going on, but I could not see anything. And I remember hearing, she said, I need a crash card. Where is my crash card? And she keeps on saying this. And that's when I start saying, no, I'm a DNR. Look at your papers. I am a DNR. Do not resuscitate me. And I could see it was like, if it was cloud or just white, I couldn't see a light. I couldn't see nothing. It was just what I was seeing. It was like I could hear myself saying these things. I could hear them, but nothing could be seen. And in that desperate that I hear her, she goes like, finally my crash card. And when she says that, I scream, and in me I screamed so hard that I felt the breath just coming, and like physically I went like this, and it hurt. It was so strong that it hurt my chest, my breath. I literally felt like if something was blown in me. And I breathed, and I remember her saying to the doctor, she didn't have pulse. She was not breathing. I'm getting ready to, to resuscitate her, and she just breathed. And he immediately, they took over and started. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, where's my husband? Where's my husband? And here comes, Paul, and he's like all crying and everything, and he says, I almost lost you. I thought I lost you. And all I could say was like, I'm a DNR. Why were they getting ready to resuscitate me? And he was like, I wasn't even thinking about that. It's just, this happened so quick. Everything happened so quick. And at that time, the Lord started dealing with me, because I could understand, God does not like to share his glory, and he wanted to make it known that it was he who brought me back. And he did, and he allowed that to happen for a purpose, for me to know that it could be a lot worse, for my family to know. It actually happened more for my family than for me, because everybody was like having, like, everything was so overwhelming with this MS thing, that when this happened, it was like the MS thing became a little thing, because they saw that I about lost my life, that they could have lost me. And here I am. I was awake. I was doing, I was alive, and that we could go through this together. And, I know that my God, he allowed also this because he knew that my husband needed me, my daughter needed me more than ever. This would have crushed her. She had been broken because of so many things that happened to her. This would have definitely been, it could have even been fatal for her, because that's how bad, things were. But I will tell you that I just thank God. I share this testimony with you guys because God is good. The other thing is that October 23rd was one of the happiest days of my life when my nephew was born on October 23rd. That would have been horrific for my family, for him as well. And I just thank God for giving me life. In November, late that year, 2015, tremors. I started having horrible tremors all over my body. They didn't know, first they did all kinds of tests because they thought it could be seizures, but they found that it was part of the MS, the tremors. And I had stage 3 at this point. I was being told that I had stage 3 of MS. And I just want to say to everybody, sometimes things might look horrific. I was bedbound for three months. That October 25th, when I was released from the hospital and came home, that is the second time that it hit me like a ton of bricks that my life would never be the same. And then the enemy tried to put in my mind so many things, you're not going to be able to work. The Lord healed you and then he took the healing back. No, that does not happen. The Lord will allow, we have consequences to things. And that was my consequence for allowing stress and not letting God be the one who took all my burdens, and allowing that stress to overtake my body. And I just want to tell you that God, that day, it was really hard on me, but I got faith reinstalled. I had this little girl, Semenia, from our church. I had so many people pray for me, but this little girl, this was divinely appointed. I was in a wheelchair. My husband took me to church that day, and I hear like a laughter, and it looked like an angels just surrounded me. And I closed my eyes because it was so strong. And at this time, I feel a hand, and it was this little girl from our church, Semenia. She's Vanessa Saldana and George Saldana's daughter. And I couldn't understand what she was saying, but she was praying for me. And the dad said she was praying for all your coco to go away, for all your pain. And I remember that little girl, that prayer, I started praying every day that God would take my coco away, that he would take my pain.